As a real estate agent, every once in a while we do hear it. Oh my God, I've got a land tax bill of 6 years to pay, 9 years to pay. I didn't know I had it. Let's talk about it. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 482. Land tax. Who pays it? What is it? When is it applicable? Let's talk about it. A lot of people, some people don't even know they've got to pay it, and it's a surprise. Some people doesn't know when it kicks in because they've heard potentially if you own it, you don't. But if you get a second property for that investment, that it may be applicable. So Mark and I thought we'll talk about when was it introduced, what is it, and how much, and how you can find out how to find out the value of it, because it's not necessarily based on what the property's bought for or sold for, which is probably the biggest misconception, isn't it?
And also, it's not just investors. There's a thing called premium threshold in a land tax for owner-occupiers we're going to cover as well.
All right, so let us get involved. When was it introduced? You've got it.
Okay,
when was it
so I don't know.
Let's look it up. All right, well, what is it?
Okay, so what happens is if you have an investment property, you can have one in your name generally. If it's a unit, you will be under the threshold generally. If it's a house, you will be over the threshold generally. When you are over the threshold, you'll have to pay a percentage every year just because you own that house. If you're a unit, you probably won't. Now, have you got the threshold, Bird? Do you want me to read it out?
It was introduced in 1895. Wow. They've been doing it for ages.
Yeah, by Captain Cook.
1980. Land tax had been checked history. It was first introduced in 1895, abolished in respect of all land not in local government areas in 1906, and then reintroduced in 1956. Okay, so since 56 it was introduced. Now, land tax. Yeah, you go to the table. I'll bring up a table, but start talking about it.
Okay, 2021, the land tax threshold was $755,000. If you are up to $755,000 of land, the government lets you hold that investment for free. Over, they're going to whack you. Now, how do they treat units and how do they treat houses? Well, there's units. Great news about units is if for instance, if it's a block of 10 and all the units are the same entitlements, for instance, if it's a block of 10, they will look at the block of land that it sits on and say, how much is the land worth? Then they will divide that by 10, and then they'll say you have to pay 1/10 per year of what that block's worth in a tax. We won't talk about the percentage yet, but that's coming. Michael, with that that land tax there, that's so 755 is the threshold. So
yeah,
how do you find out? How do you find out what the what land tax is for your property if it's an investment property? How do you get sent that every year? For example, like you will get a valuer general assessment of your property, whether it's investment or owner occupied. The valuer general will issue a letter to you annually letting you know what it's worth. Most people don't even know what it is and throw it out. That's why it gets sent out to you.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because a lot of people, they'll go online, they'll see like a property like this, 2 Keswick. It may be an investment for them, most agents will have council rates and strata if it applies, but the owner's like, well, but how much am I going to pay land tax? And there's an easy way to find out without asking the agent, so you can really skim through online. First of all, you go to valuergeneral.newsouthwales.gov, and I'll put the link in here after as well. And you'll be able to click on this button at the top, land value search. Then it comes up with a page where it says property number. A lot of the time you won't know the property number. So then what you do is just above it, you click property address inquiry, open it in a new tab, and then you can search the address. Very simple, DY, Keswick, and then you put the street number 2, you say you're not a robot, perform search.
Not a robot.
Not a robot. Then it gives you the number. So that's what a lot of people get caught up. So then you come back to here, you put it as of they do the latest one that's in the system. So 2020, it's cool, you can check all years. And then it will give you the report here. So it comes up property ID, Northern Beaches, tells you the size of the property, the dimensions of the property. Like, this is great information.
Zoom up.
Yep.
Look. It's a good way if you want to find the block size on a property, public data.
Correct.
Okay.
But look
zoning.
At this land value here. That's key. So Mark. So 1.1 million. What? Tell us what that. So, yep.
You've just been screwed. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you've just decided to buy a little house in DY. You will have, as an investment, you will have to pay over $755,000. You will have to pay land tax between $755 and what was the other figure?
1132. So 1132 minus 755. You're paying $377,000.
Okay. Now, what percentage annually will I have to pay on that $377,000 because that's over the threshold?
1.6%. So times 0.16, $6,000. So 370 times.
So that's 6,000 divided by 52 weeks.
Yep, divided
by 52 weeks
is $116 a week.
Okay, so you've just lost. Yeah, so $116 of that rent coming in is going to go straight to the coffers of the government. That's if it's your only property, Burge. Now, if you're already over the threshold because you already own a house as an investment, you're going to have to pay on that entire amount. So what's that work out to, mate?
$18,000.
So guys and girls,
yeah,
$18,000 divided by 52.
Wow.
$350 of your rent is going to go towards land tax.
On a typical, like, I don't want to say entry level, but entry level house. Like that's entry. That's wow. And that hasn't had this year's bump. You know, so
now that's a good point. How do they? Okay, so you may have looked at that figure that we gave you for that typical house. That's about a $2 million, $3 million house, like on a little block of land, old house on a little block of land. Now, it's only $1 million in terms of land tax. So the government is only putting a valuer general assessment across that block. It's not really a market value of what that land's worth. It's just a bit of an estimate, and it's conservative. Now, This is the problem, guys. How is the government going to look at land tax? in 12 months when they go to do all the assessments again. Do you know what date that assessment was that you just looked at?
Yeah, I think it says June. Yeah, 1st of July. Date valuation was made 23rd of the 8th, 2020. 9 months ago.
So 9 months ago. So when that new valuation comes in, because the Valuer General sends these assessments out every single year, because the property market's kicked, bumped, and done well, guess what?
Goes up.
Yeah. So everyone's going to get ready for the land tax to go up on your investment, because you're just about to get hit. So you got to be a bit careful when you're buying an investment property. And this is what I want you to get out of today's show.
Actually, I was going to say I'll find a really expensive block in DY, but if it's 4 million, it should be the same because it's off the land, not the build. So would that be correct? Any 600 square meter blocks going to be valued at that in in DY? Actually, let's check that. I'll find a sold property that sold at like 3.5 mil in DY, and I'll see how that compares. You just tell us how crazy this is, and I'll find something.
Yeah. So have a look at we're just going to have a look at and see because let's just take an area like DY. In DY, we have a place where there's $7-8 million homes selling, premium homes, and we've got also in DY we've got homes that are selling for $2 million. So we're just going to have a look at the difference in VGA, the difference the Valuer General assesses those two values in order to tax you. Now, while Burge is doing that, I also want to talk about a premium threshold. I don't know if you can see this little puppy here. Have a look at this. Can you see it? Okay. Now,
yeah.
So there is look at that. How professional is that? Okay. Now this premium threshold on the far right-hand column, see how it says $4.5 million? That $4.5 million is for the ultra wealthy. People, well, not particularly. Well, it is in a way. So it's called a premium threshold because now we've just talked this morning about justice if you have as an investment property, the tax that you have to pay on the land. But this is even if you're living inside of the property, the tax you have to pay on the land. So with a premium threshold, if you're on a waterfront property, and the Valuer General you're on Manly Harbourfront, or you're in Double Bay Harbourfront, and your VGA on your Harbourfront property is $10 million for the land, you are going to have to pay over the $4.6 million threshold in land tax. Is the premium threshold any different to the normal threshold, Burge?
I'll have a look, but we'll just interrupt. I'll have a look.
Let's just stick with this first. So the premium threshold, for instance, if it goes off that 1.6% that we have,
premium threshold, 61,876 plus 2% of the land value above the threshold. The threshold is published.
Okay. Okay, so if your land is worth $10 million because you live on Manly Harbourfront or Rose Bay Harbourfront or whatever, that means you're $5 million over the threshold, you're going to have to pay $100,000 a year just to live where you want to live.
Yeah, it's insane. That's a big cost. Now, this would be an interesting strategy. So. Anything else you want to add on that premium?
Nah, back to you.
Okay. 17 Tango, same size block, sold for $4.8 million. But so is over double what the one we just looked at. But the land value, which I'm not sort of surprised, but I sort of am surprised, but I'm not. Same. 17 Tango, 1.1 million. So you buy a property for 2 million, your land tax is 18 grand a year. You buy a property for 4.8, your land tax is the same. So the land tax is not really matter when you look at buying renovated, do I build, do I not build? So it's not a big factor.
Harbour, can you have a look on the Harbourfront 17 Marine Parade? Was it 17? Anyway, I think people have got the idea. We don't have to keep going. Guys and girls, we've just gone through and given you an education on land tax. As an investor, you're going to have to pay it. If you're over the threshold, don't let it creep up on you. And I am really, really keen, or not keen, I don't know, to see how the government is going to handle the land tax now, since land value has gone up so much in the last 12 months. It's going to be very, very interesting. Yeah,
they've put out the stamp duty. We can talk about that maybe tomorrow or the next day, what they're looking to do. But that's a wrap. Thank you.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. Cheers. Boy.
Take care, guys. See you, Burge. Hope.